Hello and welcome to Beyond the Scale, Weight Loss and Wellness. I'm your host, Coach Monica. I'm joined today by Coach Darcy, and we are here to guide you through the ins and outs of a lifestyle that's transformed not just our lives, but the lives of countless women navigating the waves of perimenopause and menopause. Whether you're here to shed weight, understand your body better, or simply find a community that gets it, you're in the right place. So sit back and enjoy the next few minutes as we tackle the hot issues of today. Good morning, Coach Darcy. It's good to see you this morning.
Good to see you.
You're all bright.
I am. This morning was not a bright morning, and I think the colors helped.
Did you come home and change your clothes? Because she's in rainbow colors today.
No, I have like the tie-dye rainbowy color tank on, and this was me hoping for a good day.
Well, there's still time. There's still time. We're recording this at 11:22. So
yes.
when we hit the close button, we'll have our audience check in and see if things have improved for you. You see my sweatshirt?
Yes. It says Grammy on it.
I'm a Grammy.
So precious.
Yeah.
You have like a cute little grandkid that's pretty adorable.
Oh, my word. I sent, of course, I have to send the family all of the videos. And he grabbed this funniest laugh this weekend. I don't know where he came. He sounds like a motorboat, and he just does it all the time now.
Oh, my goodness.
So funny.
I was surprised when I heard it. Like when you sent the video, I was like, is that coming out of this little boy?
He started it in the middle of the restaurant. Just in the middle of the restaurant, he saw his mom at the salad bar, and he did it. And I told his mom about it, and she's like, oh, well, she had no idea until suddenly in the middle of lunch, he burst out in this laugh, and everybody had tears rolling down their face. That's our little personal segment here.
Yeah. It makes me happy to hear those stories, because on sour mornings like mine,
yes, you had a bad dentist morning, but hopefully everybody's been delivered to school with and without tears.
Yes, well, there were tears, but
he had to go to school.
Oh my gosh, yes, he's like, this just, and his birthday's this weekend, so he's like, this
my birthday buddy.
Yes, and his eyes light up when but it makes it sound like you were born after him. Like that's how he puts it in a way. And I'm like, it's not really how that works out, but
that's okay. Fine. I'm going to be 48 I'm going to be 49 on Saturday.
Oh, you went and outed it.
So I will let him think that. When I call him on his birthday, I will let him think that I was born after him. That's totally fine.
So happy early birthday, even though
thank you.
Or belated birthday for when people hear this podcast.
True.
It will be a belated.
It will be in November when they hear this.
Yes. So I hope that it's a good birthday. Yeah. And
you know what I'm doing for my birthday?
What are you doing?
I'm doing what I love. I'm going to a conference.
Are you really?
I'm a conference junkie. I truly am. Yes. So I am going to a conference about I don't even know what it's about, and I don't care. I'm going. I know my pastor's speaking, so it has to do with the election, and it has to do with believers, and so I think it's going to be fun.
Hey, is it gonna hit like after? Is this podcast gonna come out after we know the result?
This podcast is going to be probably on election day, because election day is Tuesday.
Right now we're joyful.
We are. No, I'm scared right now.
Well,
I'm scared.
We're talking to our future selves and saying, hey, everything's still going to be okay. It's in God's hands.
Our future self says that we have a lot of hope for the country.
Yes.
If it turns out the way we need it to turn out, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay regardless. It's just, are we going to have any money or not?
Right. So true.
Oh, this morning. This morning, our heart is breaking for the storms and watching the devastation in Tennessee and North Carolina and Florida. Place where we stayed in Florida and Clearwater was wiped out. Madeira Beach was wiped out. It's just awful. Awful.
Nobody can compete with nature. That's for sure.
They can't. We had some clients that were affected by this, and so they are recouping and they're recovering. And so our prayers go out to them. So we're gonna have a
Absolutely.
funny, not a funny show. There's not a funny.
No,
We're
here,
gonna.
here, I'm going to take the reins. Let me take the reins.
Well,
Ready?
I gotta first before I gotta say that you're gonna do the interview. I
Oh,
gotta,
okay. Well, that's what I
oh,
said. I'm going to take the reins.
so you're gonna introduce yourself. You go ahead.
Hello, I am Coach Darcy, and I am going to be interviewing our CEO of KM Health Coaching. This was kind of on my mind for a while. As somebody who has been a part of KM Health Coaching for about 4 years, because it's been 5 years since I did keto and how I got lured into KM Health Coaching. We'll talk about the old name in a minute. But I was asked to, hey, I need you to be keto so then you can come work for me. But
Tricked you.
it was lucky enough that I was at my end point and I had my enough moment and I was already trying to fix things and my way just was not working. So it's so fun to see a perspective on my side as somebody who has watched your journey and how KM Health Coaching became evolved and just became into being this what it is today. It has changed so much over the years. So we're going to talk about your perspective of how your program has changed over the years and how you have seen it evolve. Like we're interested in knowing that. And then in the midst, I'm going to ask you some more questions. So leave me
Okay.
space.
Okay. Leave you space. Because then I'm gonna turn the interview around to you.
Oh,
And because you have also changed in your coaching style. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, it'll be a fun show. So
Yeah. We have
go
no idea
for
what we're going to say.
no
So
idea.
here
No,
we
this
go.
is a
So
blind interview.
yeah. So go ahead and share your perspective on your own company. Maybe even point about things that you're super proud about and maybe the dumbest thing that you've ever
Mm.
done. I love that. So go ahead
Oh
and start
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So my story has probably three different perspectives. The first being when I lost the weight and my own personal story on how I did it. And the thought process of, well, this is how you do it. I was successful, and so this works, and so this is how it's done. Now I need a certification in order to help people. And so that's where I started, was with my perspective of how I did it. Because there's how I did it versus the book knowledge versus when you get your first client. So how I did it, I slow motioned my journey, and a lot of people think, you lost 130 pounds in 6 weeks and your before and after picture, are just as flashes. And when in fact it happened in a year, year and a half. And I did not jump off of the deep end. I gave up all added sugar first for about 6 months. Well, and I was a part of the MLM company. So I thought that, that would be how a business was run, with the MLM company. And finally, somebody outed me and said, hey, listen, I know you're losing weight. You're on this product, but you've changed your life. Shouldn't you be honest with how you did it? And I got a little mad at this friend, and we all need a friend like that who will tell you the truth even if you get mad. And I got mad. I'm like, no, it was this product, because I was getting the product for free. And I legitimately thought that the product was helping me lose weight, when in fact it was because I changed my lifestyle. Um, and as far as a lot of MLM companies go, it's not all bad. Some of them, I was taking vitamins and I was healing my body from the inside, giving my body nutrients that I was neglecting. So it did have some to do with it. I felt good, but in the end, it was how I was eating. So my journey was extended because I eased into my journey, whereas we don't do that with clients. They come to us for 3 months and we got to get started. So then I went to Kate Jaramillo and said, listen, I am helping all of these women lose weight. They're asking me how I'm doing it. Is there a way that a person can get paid? Can I start a company this way? And so she was like, oh my gosh, let's start. Let's get you on the certification process. Let's get you on that. And I dove in with both feet, because I needed the science behind what I was doing. I needed the science behind why keto was working for me. And it was a really emotional call. I cried. And she was like, you're gonna make it. Your interview with me tells me your company is going to grow very quickly. So I got certified, passed my exam, and then she gave me the materials. And
Mm.
I bought her program. It was a business in the box, which was life saving. In fact, I took over, I acquired her company this year. And I do the same thing for my future coaches. I give them a business in the box because I couldn't have done it without it. However, the business in the box, if you are a rule follower, you follow step 1 through step 10 with no modifications. And so she gave me this business in the box, and it was step, you know, this is the science. Your clients will do it this way. They'll lose weight you will be successful. And it was a 7-week program. I charged $99 for
Wow.
it. And I used MailChimp, and they got an email from me once a day for 7 weeks. There was no coaching. They were supposed to do the things. It was all book knowledge. It was incredible knowledge. Well, if we learn about people, we realize that 75% of all self-help books are still sitting on the shelf unopened. And so
Hmm.
that was my experience. So I'm like, gosh, this is not working. They're not reading my emails, darn it. And I would get mad. They're not reading my emails. They're not losing weight. What's the problem? Well, it's the interaction. It was the interaction that was missing. So I went into the personal one-on-one coaching at that point, but I still followed A to Z. In fact, I just had a client here this last couple of weeks ago say to me, she came into me first with that program, and she's like, "You have changed your coaching." And I said, "Yeah, I now know how people work." So so with the coaching one-on-one, I was very strict, and this worked for me, it will work for you as well. And so it was just very, very rigid. There was a lot of rules. We had a keto Bible. Everything was followed to the T. And granted, it worked for those people who had that personality and were able to follow rules. It worked. And then when we brought people in, that was when my program began to change. And I was, number one, I was exhausted because I was pouring 100% of myself into these clients. And at the price of $99, I was just killing myself. I was killing myself. I was exhausted, and the program didn't work for some people, and I couldn't figure it out. So, program morphed a little bit where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get the courage here to put some of my own expertise into this business in the box. And I started to rewrite the program. And Kate's program works 100% if you follow it. In the first program, if you followed it 100% and followed those macros, it worked. But people, people are people, and people need individual, private, one-on-one sessions that morphs a program into fit their lifestyle. I don't care what science says. If you're an airline stewardess, your program is going to be completely different than an at-home mom, completely different. And so, as I brought the people in, I began to get the courage to call myself an expert. That was one of the hardest things that I ever did, because I always thought I will never be an expert. After a while, we become our own experts, and we see what works and what doesn't. And so the program grew from 7 weeks to, we found that if we have a client for 3 months, those are the most successful clients we have, because we bring the emotional part. My program was beautifully scienced. It was beautifully, I mean, any person could have done it and it would have worked. However, those people that bring emotions to the table, and their spirit and their emotions to the table, it won't work for them. And so we put the emotional eating side into the program. Lost my weight 100%. Lost, clients were losing weight, but there was a missing piece in the puzzle, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, why am I getting the clients to this 3-month mark and then they fall off the wagon? What is wrong? Had no words for what is wrong. I was feeling like a failure as a coach. And I'm not sure if at this point, did you come into the picture at this point when I had my interview with Bitten Johnson?
Oh
I
yeah, it
forget.
was
Okay.
way before. Yeah.
So I heard Bitten Johnson on a podcast with Ben Azadi. And I remember where I was when I listened to it. I thought maybe you sent it to me. I
I
forget.
did send that
Did you
interview too,
send that to
because
me?
I was all up it, and that I was about to say something that was going to sound terrible, but I was very invested in
Ben.
Benazati's,
Yeah.
yeah, all of
Yeah.
his work.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then also in the podcasting that I would listen
Yeah.
to. I was obsessed with listening to podcasts. So
Yeah.
I
You were in
listened
the
to this one.
education mode.
I was in the
Yeah.
education mode.
Yeah.
And so I sent
He
this one to you.
he was the four pillars, right? Was he the pillar guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and I want to talk about that too. So if I forget, talk about I
Four
want to
pillars.
talk about the four pillars and why we were educating ourselves and why that worked for some people and why it didn't. But he had Bitten Johnson on and she was it was like she had four of my clients in a row, and I was looking at them face to face, and she was saying the things that they were going through. She
Hmm.
gave me the missing piece to my practice, and that was food addiction. The more I heard her talk, the more I knew she was from Sweden. I'm like, how in the world will I get this woman on the phone? So I did some digging. I don't even think Ben advertised for her, but I did some digging, found her number, and I set up a call with her. Again, crying on the phone because I said, you don't understand. You've just given me words and you've given me the missing piece. This puzzle that I am creating is absolutely beautiful, but there is a missing piece right in the middle of the face of this puzzle, and I could not fix it. And I was taking it personally that I was a bad coach because I wasn't getting it. Well, it was food addiction, ultra processed food, carbohydrate, and sugar addiction. 1 in 3 people struggles with this and is diagnosed as a food addict.
Hmm.
And so I brought that piece into the practice and it literally changed what we do. It changed our perspective. It changed how we do things. Um, and it brought hope because this piece, we're the last house on the block when it comes to healing and weight loss and addiction because nobody looks at food as addictive because we go to the grocery store and we are marketed to so strongly. Nobody looks at their addiction as anything formal. If you're an alcoholic, you just stay out of the bars, but you can't stay out of the grocery if you're a food addict. And so we brought that perspective on. Um, and you and I did go through this time of soaking in all the podcasts. We were over
Yeah.
educating ourselves.
Yes.
And Ben Azadi had some great ideas. He had some incredible ideas that were like, you know what, we're gonna capture his method and we're gonna put some of his tools that he's putting out on his podcast. We're gonna use them with our clients. And we found it may have worked for one, but it didn't work for the woman with hormones or
Yeah.
when we did the hormone phase, of
Yeah.
our education piece. That was great. Dr. Mindy Peltz is brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant. We are certified in her program to teach her program. It works. Fasting like a girl works. You know what it doesn't work for? It doesn't work for a food addict. When we bring
Right.
in those extra carbs, it does not work for a food addict. And so we would try these things and then we would put them as God. We would put them in this is the official structure. And we would wonder why clients would fail because it worked. The science is there on all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't work because then we have the social, we have the fear of missing out, we've got the real life. And so that's when we realized there's not one method for every single person. And that's when our practice changed. Is that an answer to your question?
That's one of them.
Okay. Did I miss one? I won't be like the debater speaking of politics. That guy, if you watch the debate, it was the most fun thing. Again,
I
going
loved it.
going into political, and there's no Republican Democrat in this. It was a fascinating debate.
It was. I was proud of them, actually, both of them.
I
I was,
was. I felt. I kind of feel like Mr. Waltz is now going to vote for Mr. Vance. They were such good friends. I thought they
like,
could
I
go out for
know.
a beer afterwards. It was fun. But what I was fascinated by and what I really covet was the way that JD Vance could remember what the original question was.
Yeah.
And he would take a squirrel trail from the
It's a
question.
map.
And then he'd come right back and he said, now let me answer your question. I'm like, oh, I would have forgotten it.
All
It was
right. Well,
brilliant. I
my
love that.
question, my question was, what do you feel in the practice? Like, first of all, tell our listeners how long we have been
Mm,
in business. That's the
mhm.
biggest
Yeah.
thing that I think is really important to share
Yeah.
because I mean, when you share these stories, sometimes when somebody's listening to it, it sounds like it's in a short amount of time, maybe
Right.
between 1 and 2 years, but that's not the case here. Like
Mm-mm.
it's taken several years for us to develop
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So share that, and then I'll ask my other question.
Yeah. We've been in active coaching practice for 6 years now. 6 years.
Okay.
And we've probably majorly morphed about 3 times in
Yes.
that. Um, and when I say morphed, I don't necessarily mean, and people freak out about this because we've been talking a lot about carnivore. They're like, don't you support keto anymore? No, the morph doesn't necessarily mean we leave the original principles. In fact, we've come back to them. Well, what has worked for our clients? Well, macro counting has worked for our clients. What has worked? Keto works. Keto is the foundation. So morphing doesn't even necessarily mean we leave the first principles.
Right.
It means that we have added to our toolbox. So yeah,
Okay.
6 years. And how long have you been with that 6 years? Do
I
you know?
believe 4, because I've been keto 5 years this last September.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like it might be a little bit more than 4, because I feel like I came on board maybe after I graduated
Mm-hmm.
in that few weeks, like the 8 weeks. And then
Yeah,
I lived my lifestyle. I did your marketing.
that's right.
So it may be 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Yeah.
4 and some things. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Because
been a
you
while.
eased in with the marketing side of things. And then
Yeah, yeah.
I was wondering
But
how I grabbed you with the keto stuff because you were already working for me.
yeah, yep, yep.
I couldn't remember
And
that.
my phone just downloaded all of your photos because you shared everything with me so that I can like
Oh
understand how
my.
to market for you. And I had like no experience in marketing. I went to school for art, but the marketing part, I'm like, no. But I wasn't bad. I was actually found like I was pretty decent at it. But so my one of my questions then on top of all of that historical information is out of if as you look back to those 6 years, was there a moment in your coaching career or your CEO moment that was like a big old flop? Like you regret every single moment
Yes.
um that happened.
Yes. Um, I
This might
think
take a minute.
probably one of the biggest ones physically would have been doing fasting like a girl before I was certified with my HMA, with my food
Oh
addiction.
yeah. Yeah.
Because we had women who were going through this who just completely fell off the rails
Yeah.
because they were food addicts, and when they added those extra carbs back in, um, you know, it was a big flop. We lost a lot of those women because they struggled with food addiction, and it just really sent them off the rails. So I would say
Yeah.
getting the reverse order, because we still do both. We still do the hormone, feeding, but with a food addict, I have to do it completely different because there's triggers and there's red dogs and there are relapse warnings that take place. So I would say that, and being overeducated and not believing in myself enough to know you are the expert. You have got 6 years of one-on-one working with people under your belt. It's time for you to step up and act like an expert.
Yeah.
Not to say, I mean, if you looked at my library, you would know you and I both are in the lab every single
All
day
the time. Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
And I think
Absolutely.
also we have had to learn how to weed out the bad stuff, the bad advice. I can now look at my carnivore book as I am educating myself on, taking our current clients through the carnivore challenge. I can look at this book and say, okay, number one, it was written by a man. Number two, this does not apply to all of the women that we coach. This would not work for the women. I'm able to look at these things and say, nope, that would not work. We can take parts of truth from this book, apply it to our clients, and know what will work specifically for them. And so I think that's something that we have been able to say, hey, did you hear about this idea of this? We work through it in the lens of our clients, and we're like, yeah, that would not work. No
Right.
way. Good
Right.
idea, but it just wouldn't work. So,
So when I say the word imposter syndrome, you've
mm.
used that word a lot in these years. How do you feel like you have overcome this imposter syndrome? And do you feel like if you, do you feel like you have overcome imposter syndrome?
Probably 3 days of the week I do. And the rest, I'm like, oh, that coach is so much better than me. Or when I see a coach on TikTok who has her lighting perfect, who has, this really cute personality. She's never been overweight a day in her life, and she's on there teaching about, reverse dieting and macros, and me thinking, oh, I wish I could look like that, or I wish I could do that. Doing the program and thinking, this is insane. This is absolutely something that does not work for our client. Now, maybe it works for her clientele. For our clientele of perimenopause, menopause women who are struggling with this belly fat, not counting your macro, you have to. We've done it both ways. And um, so when I look at those kinds of coaches and I start to look at them, I'm like, oh man, I wish I could be that. And then I look at our clients, they say, no, I have to be me because I
Hmm.
want them to succeed and I have to be me. No one can tell my story. No one can be the coach that I need to be. So I need to do what I know is right.
Right.
And sometimes our clients don't like that because they would
Right.
rather pick up the donut. Literally, I'm not even kidding. I joined this program. I won't tell you what it is. Joined this program because I needed her math, basically. I needed the math because reverse dieting is real.
Oh,
And
yes.
when I got the email after joining this program with a picture of her with a wine glass and a donut and and the headline was, "You'll never have to count a macro again." I
Oh,
thought, I just paid $375 for this program. She's crazy. But I got the math. I got what I needed out of it. But yeah. Can you imagine
oh,
coming to our clients with that? Oh my.
oh, I'm sure we'd have a lot of clients like she
Yeah.
did. And
Yeah.
then the turnaround with that, that's my favorite part about looking at the past of seeing how many
Hmm.
yes, there's been a lot of people that have not followed through because they have their own battles that they are still battling.
Yeah.
Um, but then I think, and I'm going to answer this question for you of like the top favorite thing about what you do is just the amount of people's lives that have changed through those 6 years
Hmm.
for the better, and
Right.
that we have planted seeds in their life just a
Hmm.
little bit, but it's more of like the outcome of their weight loss doesn't nearly matter as much as their mindset of have changed my life
Changed. Yeah.
and I'm not going backwards.
Yeah. And
I think that's the most important part.
here's a snapshot as to where I am right now. If we want to talk about flops, I'm in the middle of one right now. And I don't know how to fix this flop. And if you're watching and listening to this podcast and you're a business coach, perhaps you have the answer for me. But right now, I'm in the middle of living a flop because I believe so strongly about the mission and the results and changing lives so much. I care about, I know what works in this program. We have been through 7 different software changes. We've been through uh, different CRMs on how to deliver the content to our clients.
Yeah.
We've been through all of these changes. I know what works. I know how to get results for our clients in the 3-month program. I know it is one-on-one coaching every single week, group accountability. I know it's all of this, right? People want shortcuts because of the
Hmm.
shot, because of the starvation companies. They want shortcuts and they want cheap. So they don't want to invest in the program that works, the quality program that works. And so, as a CEO, I have got to also balance my passion for success versus making money and the revenue that comes in to keep the lights on the company so I can still pay you. So I have to keep the fiscal part in one hand and the results in the other. People want quick fixes because they think that that's going to get them what they need. They don't want to pay the quality for what it's worth. And so they're going for these programs that I have available, the do-it-yourself programs, the meet with the
Mhm.
coach one time. Um, that doesn't work. Does not
Right.
work. I have
We
maybe
know that.
one or two clients who have proven me wrong, and you have a couple of those who
Yeah.
have proven
Yeah.
you wrong on that.
Yes.
Because if they want it, they're going to do it. But
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that program, that cheap program, doesn't work. That program and that cheap program keeps my lights on. So I've got to wrestle quality versus quantity. And I'm in the middle of that right now. And people are, business coaches are piping in for me and saying, listen, why don't you scale? It's time to scale. Well, scaling it can mean cheapening your program. It can mean getting rid of the things that work because those things take my time. I only have a certain amount of calendar hours. You only have a certain amount of calendar hours to schedule your clients, and so you're going to have to cut it off at one point. So if you don't scale, so I'm in a kind of a crisis, identity crisis right now. Do I believe in my mission so much that I'm not willing to change it? Or do I need to bring in the revenue in order, knowing that when this client signs up, I just did one yesterday, did the intake call with her, went through all of, this is what works, this is what doesn't, got an email from her yesterday saying, I'm gonna go with the cheap one. Breaks my heart because I know the end result to that. So do I
Yeah.
sell her that package or do I not sell her that package and only do high ticket prices?
Right.
That's the conundrum I'm in right now. My
And it's
position.
foundation is the fact that we have over the years learned, like what you said, we have learned how people work,
Mm-hmm.
the different needs of others.
Mm-hmm.
We have clients that are self going and just
Mm-hmm.
can just do the things and their lives are changed. And I feel like when they're like, we couldn't have done this without you. I'm like, well, you did the work. Like
Yeah.
that's, we did nothing.
Wait.
You have
Yeah.
done it all. And
Yeah.
that goes for most people's journey, if not all of them, is that they did the work, but yet they're like, your program saved me. You are, the hero in
Yeah.
my eyes. But like, you did the work. Like that's
Yeah.
what you did. That's not
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
But
And
just
that's the
learning,
that's the picture of a successful program. When you
right?
can put it back on them and say, actually, no, you did it. You had the
Yeah.
choice to do this or not.
Right. But knowing also the fact that since there's so many different personalities, different needs, and our program provides it for most people, let's
Yeah.
say most, not all,
Yeah.
that is like a pickle. I could see in your perspective how what kind of like teeter-totter you're on right now of knowing like, okay, I have this mission, this heart, this passion to help for you it's definitely to help women that have
Mm-hmm.
these needs, these addictions that have been abused for all their life and they want to have some hope but they don't have the hope and I want to
Mm-hmm.
help them find that hope. Like that is your mission statement
Mm-hmm.
100%, and it has been so amazing to watch from my perspective to see that passion going through and then the struggle on the business side. It doesn't
Yeah.
help that nobody has money to spend on themselves anymore.
Right.
But just as a business owner to be able to keep our doors open and to
Mm-hmm.
give what we have to people, like that
Yeah.
is
Well, and
that
all
is the
these
challenge.
all these coaches out there right now are talking about passive income, and passive income is where you want to go. Passive income is wonderful for the finance part of the business, but it's
Mhm.
horrible for success. Granted, every time I open my mouth, somebody could prove me wrong and say, well, that's not true. But for the majority, we have enough statistics behind our clients to understand the passive income is not where the success is. People literally join our monthly group and they pay, 79.95 to be a part of our monthly group. And guess who's not at meetings on Mondays? Those people. And the money is coming out of their account every single month and they don't show up to the meetings. And so again, they are keeping our lights on because they're paying for a service, but they're not participating, they're not doing it. And so I'm just sad about that because I would rather see, people grabbing their life back from type 2 diabetes and losing weight than see this passive income, but I can't run a company without passive income. So
Right.
it's very, very frustrating. So if you're listening to this podcast and we're like, hey, I've got the answer for you, I know how to ease your mind about that, please let us know because my gosh, that is really, really hard. And it may be something as a coach that I eventually get over. I hope I don't though, because that's the heartbeat of KM Health Coaching is success. That's our
Right.
heartbeat and changing
Yeah.
women's lives and men's lives.
Yeah, we have to include men. We don't have to, but we want to
We
include
do
men now
include
because and
men.
that we
Yes.
changed our name for them.
Exactly. You had said, do you remember our first name? We've even changed our name.
We have changed our name. We rebranded like a yours was Keto Mom Coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and men did not want to be coached by keto
Keto
moms.
bomb. No.
Because or even some young daughters or young women that don't
uh,
have kids
yeah,
yet. Like they're like, well, I am not a mom,
I know.
so
Yeah.
I don't need to be coached by you. Which in fact, like KM Health Coaching still has the roots
Mm-hmm.
of the whole business and company,
Yeah.
but that we had to make marketing changes and we
Mm-hmm.
had to rebrand and
Mm-hmm.
and then also dealing with the nasty marketing world of
Uh,
Facebook and
yeah.
Instagram and where everybody's on. So it's challenging to from my perspective to watch you going through all this
Mm-hmm.
as a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, I guess I'm forming a question as I'm talking.
Okay.
Um, would would there be any what is basically your dream for this company? Where do you see yourself in this
Mm.
company in a few, let's just say 5 years,
Yeah.
5 more years? Because we like to take things small. We know we can be open for a long time, but
Yeah.
where is your initial um dream and goal for this company?
Yeah. I 100% know where that is. I have a passion to watch people heal from food addiction, carbohydrate, sugar, ultra processed food addiction. And so what I foresee in the future is five of you, five coaches, five of me currently stepping up to the plate and coming to coach for KM Health Coaching. And then I take over and only coach my food addiction practice.
Mm,
We do have a separate practice for that. It's something that I keep entirely separate from the weight loss side. You cannot combine food addiction and weight loss. Weight loss happens on the food addiction side, but that would be my passion is for me to coach the coaches, have that team up and running, and have them changing the lives of men and women on the weight loss and metabolic side, and then have me to be running full time the food addiction treatment center that we have. So
right.
I've already
Okay.
got some coaches in mind. I've done a couple interviews this week and got some coaches in mind that are current clients right now.
That's
Know who I'm
amazing.
talking about.
Yeah. All right. I'm doing it like a nudge nudge.
Yeah. Yeah. So, which means
So,
you'll be stepping up to take my current place right now.
oh. All right.
A lot
So
of
do you have
changes happening.
any last oops, I'm hitting my mic. Do you have any I'm all flustered now.
Yeah.
I don't know what I mean in your seat. Um Guys, I know I say that in the most kindest ways possible because I know you're passionate and I'm passionate too. Like
Uh-huh.
we have our own passions, but
Yeah.
I think that's why we work so well together is because my passion hits a group of clients in one way and then yours is the other
Yeah.
opposite side. And bringing on more coaches is going to bring more opportunities and more
Hmm.
personalities to the table. And I
Yeah.
love that idea
Yeah.
because we've learned through the years that not every client's
No.
personality is the same and
No.
one and not every coach's personality is the same. We could
Right.
be very black and white and have no feelings and be
Hmm.
able to um heal and help other people. No, we're not
Hmm.
healing people, but
Yeah.
helping other people and their needs. But the reality is that without the personality behind the coach,
Yeah.
you're gonna just struggle and not really connect well with
Yeah.
what the client truly needs.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. There's an individual coach out there for you that may not be, I'm a tell it as it is kind of coach. How's it working
yeah,
for you? I cheated
right.
this week. Well, You didn't cheat this week. You chose not to lose weight this week. That's what happened. Let's talk about how it really is. Some
Yeah.
people can't take that kind of coaching and they need more of an intuitive coach. And they thrive with an intuitive coach. Some people, we had Christine on here. She's more of a spiritual coach. And so everybody, that's why I'm not ever threatened by other coaches, because nobody can tell my story. Nobody can
Right.
tell your story. And so, except for you. So yeah, it's really exciting. And the exciting thing too is, we are getting a voice in the public arena now. We are
Oh,
getting a
yeah.
voice in the political arena. I had someone come up to me in an event last night who actually works at a food processing plant. And he's like, please do not stop talking about the evil that happens in these processing plants. I want to know more about your work. I want to know what you're doing in the legislative era, but please don't shut up about this because what you're saying is true.
Hmm.
And so we have a voice right now, and it's the perfect time to become a coach because, I mean, it's hard work. You have to show up every day and market.
Yeah.
You've got to do a whole heck of a lot of work. But right now, if you're ever thinking about becoming a health coach, it's the time to do it because you now have a platform. When we first opened this practice, we didn't have a platform. We weren't allowed to say some of these things. Now
Yeah.
we're allowed to say them. So I encourage you. We are one of about 3 companies in the United States who certify ketogenic coaches, which is the foundational coach. And I think I can say this now, hopefully, but we just launched yesterday a new carnivore certification that we're going to include in our package when we certify our keto coaches. And you're getting ready to take the course.
I
You're
am.
the first guinea pig. You're going to get ready to take
We're
and
gonna
get
see how this
certified.
works.
So,
Oh my
um,
goodness.
so there's just so many opportunities. If you are interested in becoming a coach, please message us and let us know your story and I can direct you to the right place. It's our website is on our practice website, kmhealthcoaching.org. You can go find it there, how to become a coach. But there's never been a better time to do that. Darcy, can
Right.
you tell me, I don't want to end this podcast. It sounded like you're landing the plane. I don't want to land the plane yet
No, I didn't know where to go
until,
next.
no, I want to find out because you came in and you have had like, poor thing. She has had to change courses as the CEO was like, hey, we're doing it this way. Hey, this is changing. Hey, we're rebranding. Hey, we're going to get certified here. Hey, she's just gone along for the ride. And she's just like, all right, what are we doing? In fact, even
Right.
yesterday, okay, you want me to get certified in carnivore? Okay, what do I have to do? So you've had all of these, you've watched it from your I have to follow this rule again perspective. I want to know how your coaching has changed through all of this. Number one, how your coaching has changed personally because you're just getting better and
Mhm.
better, how your clients have changed, and how you've had to change with the business.
Now that's 3 questions in a
I
row.
know.
Let's
If
see
you
if
were
I
at
can
the
remember.
debate
I
yesterday or the
would,
day before, you would have been scribbling
I,
them down
I
really
did
fast.
not create a map just now. I would just,
Because
I
I'll
would say,
forget them
yeah,
too.
my, the things that you toss me are always doozies, but I'm always willing, because my initial foundation is I want to be a part of this mission of helping people change their health for the better. And I didn't have that when I first started. Like you asked me the question, um, what are you passionate about? And I had no idea. Like
Hmm.
I was just a stay-at-home mom making jewelry and I was an artist before I started. And I knew that my health needed to change, but I also knew that I needed to gain some knowledge about why health is super important. And I knew that there was so many different categories. So yeah, I crammed in my brain and I became so overwhelmed. And so then when you'd throw something at me, I became a little panic mess.
Yeah. Well,
Just
you
for a
thought you had to
moment,
know it all. You thought you
I
had to
did.
know it.
And I know so much more now, but I'm not going to be able to tell you doctor words.
Uh-huh.
It took me forever to learn what senescent cells was and remember the word senescent, which is zombie cells, which are dead cells. But it took me a long time, and I would tell my friend, "Hey, remember this word senescent. Remember
Uh-huh.
that, and then tell
Yeah.
me when I forget." And she forgot it, so it didn't really work. But just knowing the nitty gritty of how our body worked was something I was super passionate about. The more I saw how our bodies could heal themselves. And like, then I asked the question, well, why and how? And those are things that go on in my head every single day is why and how. And so then I have to go to these other experts that have studied, but then, and I'm just kind of scratching the surface of how my brain works.
Yeah.
But just and I'll get to your other questions, but just um knowing how doctors went to medical school for 8 years and it took them 8 years minimum to learn about one portion
Hmm.
of the body,
Yeah.
like an ear, how the ear works and inside the ear. And that's all that they studied on for 8 years. Like that's not
Hmm.
all. I'm just kind
Yeah.
of doing a hyperbole here. But it's not too far off.
Yeah.
But in the span of, I'm going to say 5 years of learning about the nitty gritty about the body when I had no idea about high cholesterol. I knew nothing about your LDL panels or your blood
Hmm.
panels and your hormone panels, all these things. I'm learning them and I'm reading about the proper way
Hmm.
from these doctors that have been
Yeah.
awakened from their slumber and what they've been taught. That is where I'm learning my education. And
Yeah.
so there were moments, especially at the very beginning. It was the majority of my days was imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
That was a definition of both of us, and I had a lot of learning to do about myself,
Hmm.
and what I was capable of doing. And I would gain my first client and I would see, okay, I tried doing the black and white, very practitioner style, and
Hmm.
it was not warm and cozy. It was
Right.
just there was no connecting with the client. And I learned that you need to um understand the personality of the client in order to be able to really dive into what their needs are.
Yeah.
And as I was doing this, that is when the passions started to surface.
Hmm.
That is when the excitement for other people's health style journey started to
Hmm.
change. And then that's when I started to really implement just hearing them out. And now, again, I'm still learning.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still learning the different types because I get a new personality and I'm having to
Mhm.
relearn this type of personality. And and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I am quite opposite of that personality. So how do I speak
Yeah.
to somebody that thinks like this?
Yeah. Well, and I
So I
think
asked,
you had mentioned you mentioned because I want to highlight something you said. You
mm,
said you were really really busy. You used the words why and how, and that is
yes,
so true. At the end of the day, that is not what our clients want. Now, we have maybe one out of
yeah,
10 that want to know the
right,
why and the how. What they want to know is the what,
right,
not
yeah,
how and why. And we were busy beating ourselves up learning, which I'm glad we do. Again, we spend 80% of our time in the lab, learning.
yeah,
But clients at the end of the day don't want to know the why and how. They want to know the what. What do
yeah.
I eat?
And on top of that, though, like just speaking to that, I make it my mission to kind of, now this doesn't work with everybody. I've had a couple
Hmm.
clients that you're right, they have absolutely no care in the
Mm-mm.
world, but weight loss,
Right.
which is valid. Like, of
Yeah.
course, when you get to a certain point and you want to feel good at being
Hmm.
thinner or, at a
Right.
certain weight. Yeah, I get it. But my mission and goal is to educate random thoughts and facts about health that
Hmm.
triggers that I want to know more.
Yeah.
You spoke about this. That's so interesting. I want to know more. So that even about themselves, that's why I advocate for journaling so much is when you are journaling
Hmm.
about yourself, you're learning about yourself. And I've had a big turnaround with people saying, I hate journaling to the point where now they can't not journal a day
Yeah.
because they are writing things down out of their head. So as a coach, I can see that change in me where
Hmm.
before I'm like, oh, I'll turn over backwards because I'm like, oh, you don't want to do that. Okay, we won't
Hmm.
have to do that.
Yeah.
You still get to that point of if a client is a person is just kind of being defiant and really um are so wrapped up into their emotions and are not willing to do the work,
Mhm.
um, then yeah, I will be like, okay, like you say, okay,
Give them
how
the
is that
what.
working for you?
Right, right. Well, and I think
And
when you get them healthy enough, we give them the what first. Like we do. We give
mhm,
them a key to Bible, we give
yeah,
them macros, we give them the what first because when they get the what first, then they start to feel better. They start to get their personality back, they start to get their person back, and then
yeah,
they're like, "Hey, why did this work? How did
yes,
this work?" Then you can filter it in. So we do give the what. We do that.
yes,
But
yeah,
and then eventually, if it's a client who doesn't just want to get in her swimsuit by the next summer, then she's like, why and how? Then he's
yeah,
like, engineer comes out. He's like, wait a minute, why am I feeling so good right now?
yeah.
So
And
then we get to use our tools.
you have to get them past a certain point. And
Yeah.
I know that if they're absolutely just not interested in getting past a certain point, that I know that I may not be able to
Uh-huh.
speak into that person like I would love to.
Right.
But I know that once I get them to know what that feeling is and
Mm-hmm.
being a certain weight anyway, then that's where that switch hangs on, turns on, and then they're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how these pesticides
Oh
and these
yeah.
products that I used to eat made me how I am, how I
Mm-hmm.
was.
Right.
So as my coaching goes on, like, yes, I want to be able to connect with a client
Mm-hmm.
and on their terms and understand how they work and be able to um adjust, help them adjust their
Yeah.
desire for lifestyle change into their own household.
Mm-hmm.
Then we do that.
Yeah.
Before it was just black and white. I was nervous. Had imposter syndrome. I did not have the confidence. I hated speaking in general.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't
I
feel
remember
like I
when
was a good.
I remember when I made you cry.
Oh yeah, when
Do you
was
remember
I
that? That was
forget?
on a live. It was, I think
It
that was on a
was
live. Yeah.
because I felt stupid at that time and I didn't know how to respond, even though I knew the answer. But that was that's how much pressure I put on myself.
Yeah.
But I would not change any of that because have learned so much. I take every what it's so-called failure or moment of weakness or what have you as a
Mm-hmm.
moment of strength so that I can grow and help
Mm-hmm.
encourage somebody else that may be struggling with confidence.
Yeah.
And that's been the definition of my whole life is lack of confidence and not
Yeah.
having a real purpose. But my purpose is not about me and my confidence anymore. It's just being able to know that stories help people
Yeah.
and situations it may help somebody in the future. So
Yeah.
I grab onto all of them and I retain them. And
You use them as in your toolbox.
I do. I use it in my toolbox. I have a big old dandy toolbox
Uh-huh.
that I use. The biggest thing that really helped me in the coaching was actually getting certified for
The life coaching.
the life
Yeah.
coaching.
Oh yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
How
I had a client come to me to do an interview to be a coach, and she told me she had her life coaching, and I'm like, "Oh,
It's
yes.
beautiful.
You have
It's
it
beautiful.
first." We like all of our coaches to have life coaching, but
Yeah.
you have it first. So you just go take the science now.
Yeah.
You're on your way. I want to talk about the art of one of the biggest, most handy tools in our toolbox is the art of pivot. Who is that? Was that Friends show?
As friends. Pivot.
Pivot, pivot.
Pivot.
When we learn
It's
the
so
art of
great.
pivot, in fact, as we were talking, I saw one of my clients who I'm going to meet in a few minutes. I saw her form pop up, her check-in form. And in my mind, I know where I'm going to take this client because I wake up every morning. I see who is on my calendar. I go through their journal. I go see what you have told them throughout the week. But her intake form or her check-in form just popped up on my screen, and I have to pivot because I saw what happened in her week this week. I saw what we're dealing with. I saw, a scale of 1 to 10. How are you doing on this week?
Yeah.
Did you go off plan? I saw, just out of the corner of my eye, what she posted in her intake form. And I'm like, pivot.
Yeah.
So learning the art of pivoting is very difficult for people who are methodology people who
Yes.
say, well, my keto coaching taught me this. I have to do this. Dot,
Right.
dot, dot. Now we do have platforms. We do have foundational principles that we know works for weight loss and for getting rid of type 2 diabetes, those kinds of things. There's foundational principles. But if I don't, and you don't learn the art of pivoting in the middle
Hmm.
of a session, you've got to be able to do it right then because you don't know what's coming out in the middle of a
Right.
session. You
Right.
could have somebody who is ended up with a divorce that week, and you had some way you were going to take that client in your mind, and suddenly you know about a divorce. And now we have to just stabilize the situation. We just got to
Right.
stabilize the health so we don't lose them into a bag of chips, right? And so learning the art of
Right.
pivot, can you think, I'm tossing you a hard one. Can you think of an example that you've had to do that in the middle of a session? Like, I was going here, I wasn't going to take you here, but you know what? You're not ready for that yet. I'm taking you in another direction, or we're going to try something different this week.
I would honestly say if you didn't have a moment like that with
Mm-hmm.
any
Mm.
anybody,
Yeah.
then I would be worried
Yeah.
because that means that, you know, in those midst, they've been pushing off everything's dandy, everything's fine, everything's dandy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. I'm doing the things. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trusting the process. I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, if that never, and then they leave you,
Yeah.
and then you get them back, they turn around and they've gained all the weight back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means that they were just floating by
Yep.
and you did not do your job as a coach in a way where you did
Mm-hmm.
not say, hey, listen, just keep in mind you are in euphoria mode.
Mm-hmm.
You are in this honeymoon phase, and your honeymoon phase might have lasted 7 months,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly. But if something doesn't come up
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and just drop their world,
It means their program is not personalized. It means it's just
right?
a book.
You've got to be able to read a client. I've had clients have had gone through surgery,
Mm-hmm.
through family things, and we just go on survival mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And we say, this was the plan. I want you to sit, we're going to switch on to a survival mode, and we're
Mm-hmm.
just going to float on by until this season, this time that you're going through right now. And I'm going to be here with you so that I hold you accountable so that
Mm-hmm.
you are doing the things.
Right.
Um, and
Yeah.
sometimes some clients just disappear and
Mm-hmm.
then they come back because they just need a moment
Yeah.
to breathe
Right.
and to reminisce and what have you.
Yeah.
And you just know that I'm here all the time.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
waiting for you to come back. And when you're
Yeah.
ready, we're going to get back to work.
Yeah.
And I've had to,
I know when a client is checked out.
yeah,
I know when
yeah,
they've checked out.
yep.
Yeah, and there's
And
nothing
so
you can do.
when it comes to pivoting, like if you don't tell a client, and I don't want to like say that I'm for telling a client that they're going to have a moment like that,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
but I want them to always be prepared to know that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, when this does happen, this is what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do.
Yeah.
This is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
You might not have it for a very long time, and you might not have it at all. You
Yeah.
might have been at rock bottom, so hard down at rock bottom that nothing can sway
Yeah.
you. But I've known some clients in 3 years that it's taken them 3 years to finally have a
Mm-hmm.
moment where they're
Yeah.
in a weak moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you got to.
we have this thing on the addiction side called a relapse prevention plan, and that's exactly what we do. When I first get them into the treatment center, I have them write, what do you do when you start to drift? What signs do I need to look for when you're in the risk of relapse? Who do I call? When they put a name down there, it has been so helpful for me to have a pre-written relapse prevention plan, because then it's much easier to do the pivot. But before they fall into the trap of relapse. But yeah, it is so important. Wherever you find your health coaching, it's so important that you have a personalized plan. Do not go by a pre-written packet of things to lose weight because you will fall on your face. You need a
Yeah.
coach with with the ability to pivot in your treatment plan and the ability to make those hard decisions of, you know what, I'm not adding anything to your plan this week. All I'm asking you to do is survive. All I'm asking you to do is breathe. If you can do that and maintain your weight, I don't care if we lose 2, 3 weeks doing that
Hmm.
because I know
Yeah.
you're going to pick yourself back up and I know we're just going to keep going. But if we do what we normally would do when we would fall, and that's regain the weight, then we're losing and regaining the same 5 pounds over and over and over.
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
good show today.
Yeah.
Good show. If you are, it's almost meant, I don't know who this show is directed towards. Perhaps it's our future 4 coaches that are going to
That's
come on
good.
board. Don't
Yeah. It's
know.
like it could be somebody who may be thinking about starting a business.
Hmm.
Maybe it's somebody and that's I love Dr. Mindy Pels as well. And she made it very
Hmm.
and actually it was my ceramic teacher that taught me this is
Uh-huh.
that basically we are just a part of somebody like a root to somebody's tree and
Uh-huh.
they branch and that's kind of what we want. We want people to branch out to spread this word of health,
Hmm.
of whole foods and just a natural way of eating and
Hmm.
whatever way possible. Like I love the fact that we are a part and we're planting seeds and that's
Hmm. Yeah.
we want other people to come in to be able to have the same passion to then share with their group of people about the
Hmm.
importance of health and
Yeah.
that all the things that we've learned. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
we've become super passionate about
hmm.
this, even more so when we first started. Like we were
Hmm.
passionate back then,
Yeah.
and Monica was super passionate back then, but you should see her now. Like she doesn't sleep now. She writes programs
Oh my gosh, till
and
one
things
thirty in the
to
morning.
keep me on my toes. Like, oh, it seems like Darcy's been really quiet lately. I'm gonna create another program to keep her on her toes.
I think she needs to be certified in this other aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes me want to be able to share an experience. Actually, that's why I love that we're doing carnivore. That's why I
Mhm.
love that we're doing fasting
Yeah.
because we have experienced, we have learned, we have understood the different ideas and mindsets of the people that are passionate about one certain specific. Because we were the same
Hmm.
way with keto. We knew
Yeah.
everything about keto, but when it
Yeah.
came to other things, we had no idea. But now we're
Right.
able to compare and take from those ways of living to
Hmm.
apply it to our own toolbox again
Right. Right.
and utilize it because I'm at a point and I might regret saying this, but and you might regret me saying this, but I love being able to take these tools and I don't believe that there's just one way that is like a lifelong way of living one
Hmm. It's we've
way at all
morphed.
times.
Yeah, we've
Yeah, we've
morphed.
morphed and I understand the carnivore world.
Hmm.
I understand that completely now. I've felt
Yeah.
it, I've experienced it. I understand the fasting world. There's
Uh-huh.
things I don't like about fasting,
Yeah.
but there's things that I love about fasting. And we will take those tools and we will apply it to our own life. And
Hmm.
had I had that, maybe 3 years ago or even 4 years ago when I got into a maintenance world, I
Yeah.
feel like things would have been a little bit differently for me.
Yeah.
I would have still gone through my ups and downs of certain things that I needed to work on personally,
Hmm.
but having all of those tools and understanding, we're not all very different,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not hugely different other than the fact that some things work better than others.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
when you're trying just to eat the processed food or the processed food in a diet, then that's where we disagree. Like we cannot add those
No.
things.
No.
Period.
Foundational. Right.
So
Well,
anyway,
it's
that's
really good to be here today. And
yeah.
hopefully this helps somebody. Hopefully maybe the business coach will be in to rescue me on passion versus passive income. Um, that's what it is. Passion versus passive.
Right.
Oh gosh. But maybe there's a health coach out there who has just been waiting on the sidelines to get involved. And maybe you are struggling with losing weight and you're like, these coaches have spoken to me. I need a tough coach. I need that one-on-one. We're here for all of it today. So we've loved this topic of how this health coaching practice has morphed over the last 6 years, and we're excited to continue what we do, to continue
Yeah.
working in the lab, to continue helping people. So we release a new podcast every Tuesday morning. If this has been helpful, would you give us a review over on Apple? Would you share this with your family and friends?
Bye.
Our website is kmhealthcoaching.org. You can find coaching there. You can find the free health assessment over there. You can find a free sugar test to find out if you are addicted to sugar. And you can find out how to be a coach over there as well. So we love you guys, and we will see you next Tuesday morning.
Bye.